Hey, what's up you guys? This is Sentai22 here. How you guys all doing? And today I'm going to talk about kind of my childhood perspective, what went on during the phenomenon that was Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Now, some of you guys were born during the time of Turbo, some of you guys were born during the time of Space, so you never got to experience what the phenomenon was like. I did, and it was crazy. And many of us like me experienced this. I mean, it was just pandemonium out of control. Now, prior to Power Rangers, and believe it or not, I wasn't really a big fan of superheroes. My parents used to give me copies of the old Superman 1930s tapes, the ones in full color, not the black and white ones, and I would see them, and it was just awesome. But the thing is, I wasn't really interested in it, so I kind of gave up on that eventually. And then I was a big car guy. I loved collecting model cars, matchboxes, Hot Wheels, and big monster trucks. I mean, my parents used to give me tapes of monster truck shows as a kid, and it was just awesome. And then, of course, the promos came out on Fox Kids, and I didn't like them at the very beginning. I thought it was stupid. I mean, I was a kindergarten kid at the time, so I knew what was going on. I mean, just because they're little kids doesn't mean they're stupid. I just didn't like the spandex and the helmets and the rubber monsters. I thought it was just, I just didn't really feel for it, unfortunately. And then the premiere happened, which I didn't watch the premiere, but it was at school. Everybody was talking about it, and you couldn't escape it. Every classroom, like maybe during their breaks or maybe during recess or lunch, like for example on lunchtime, every single lunch table, everybody was talking about the Power Rangers. It was Zach this, Jason that, Kimberly this. I mean, you couldn't escape it. It was annoying for me. And then one day I got bored, so I decided to turn on the TV, and there was an episode of Power Rangers coming on, where the narrator says, "On Power Rangers, the Rangers decided to go to the park in order to blah 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 blah." And I just couldn't find it. I just wanted to switch the remote quickly before I didn't want to see it. And then I heard the theme song.
The prodigy of teenagers with attitudes. Go, go, Power Rangers! Go, go, Power Rangers! Go, go, Power Rangers! Mighty Morphin.
Now, all I have to say is thank you, Ron Wasserman, for making awesome music for Power Rangers. I mean, it's because of the rock music that I was able to see this show, because it just blended so well. I mean, some of my favorite songs on there was I Need a Hero and Go Green Ranger. Sorry for my singing. But the music really did help in me becoming a fan of the show. The rock music background, and and the fight choreography and the Megazord battles just made it awesome. It's just so cool the way that they did it. And I understand, today's Power Rangers, they use orchestra music nowadays, but it's not the same as it was in the original. I mean, it just was cool. And I hope in the near future Power Rangers, I hope they bring back the rock music. But anyway, back to 1994. I mean, it was, and then I became a fan, and we would talk about this and that. We would talk about the Green Ranger premiere and how Green Ranger was so badass and everything. I mean, it was great. And of course, a lot of my classmates have gotten the toys, and I was a poor prick at the time. I mean, we didn't have any good income until 1995. and I was able to get the movie figures. But prior to that, I was always tell my classmates that I had the dragon flute, even though I didn't, just to make my classmates jealous. And then of course my cousin, who was at the same class as me, she told everybody that I didn't have the dragon flute. It's like, damn you, cousin. This is what you get for having family members as classmates in your school. Don't you ever go to the same school as them. But anyway, I mean, it was awesome. I mean, it was just fun. The problem, though, of course, was the violence in the show. I mean, it was prevalent to that when I saw. I mean, it was so bad that a lot of the kids in recess would fight over who got to be the Green Ranger or the Red Ranger. I mean, they would start off, fist fighting just because they wanted to be their favorite Rangers to play Power Rangers. So that was a very bad situation, and in a way, now as an adult, I can understand why a lot of parents were concerned about this. And thank goodness, though, that Saban stepped in and did damage control and trying to ease it. Look, this is not all about violence. We do teach, lessons about teamwork and friendship, and the PSAs did help a little bit in easing a lot of the parents' frustrations on the violence of the show and some politicians, but unfortunately some of them were too ignorant to realize this was a show about spandex superheroes beating really awesome monster suits. But, that's just how it was. So back 1994, when the final episode of Tommy's last appearance came out, a lot of people weren't really saddened by it. I mean, don't believe in what Jason David Frank said about kids stop eating because the Green Ranger wasn't there anymore. A lot of kids just didn't really care, to be honest with you. A lot of them, as long as the original cast was still there, I mean, that all that matters. And of course, Tommy came back, as the White Ranger. At the very beginning, a lot of people did not knew it, but obviously it was him. There was no denying that. And then, of course, the original three left: Zach, Trini, and Jason. Chui Trang, Austin St. John's, and Walter Jones. I mean, when I first saw that they weren't there anymore, I just didn't watch the show for a couple of days. Actually, for a couple of weeks, until I started to realize. And I, grew to liking the second originals, Tom, Rocky, Aisha, and Adam. They're good cast members, don't get me wrong, but what about my needs? I mean, I don't understand why Saban couldn't have tried to negotiate with the original three actors. I mean, it's just a shame. I mean, if they could have brought Tommy back, they could have brought the originals to come back to do more episodes. You just have to accept it, unfortunately. So, that was kind of a shame to see that happen. And seeing it now, and, knowing that, yes, Saban is a cheapskate, but he is a successful cheapskate. Can't deny that. I mean, he literally made a success just because of Power Rangers. So, and then, of course, just started watching Zeo, and there was an awesome season. And then, the Power Ranger craze started to die down. I started to watch a lot of the other stuff, like Beast Wars, which ultimately I became a fan of the Transformers franchise immediately. And then, of course, watching Pokemon and, being an anime fan. So I stopped watching it when Space came around. When Space ended, I started to move on to do other things. And then in 2004, I came back to Dino Thunder, seeing that Jason David Frank was coming back to be Tommy, although not the Tommy that we know. He's a doctor, yay! And after that, I became a fan again, and pretty much started to watch all of the seasons that I missed after Space. I watched Lost Galaxy, was awesome, as well as Lightspeed Rescue and Time Force, of course, one of my favorites, and then Wild Force, and then Ninja Storm, the series before Dino Thunder. So that was pretty cool. I got to watch it in kind of both formats. I watched it during the ABC Family reruns, Power Rangers Generations, and of course RAM Files. Yes, that was the only way to watch stuff online, RAM Files instead of... Before there was AVI. There was AVI, but it was only for torrents and MKVs. There was RAM that you had to download it from a 56K connection. So yeah, it was very long. But I mean, it was incredible, those shows that I missed. And then I did kind of my research on how the former Ranger actors were doing. And then I was pretty shocked to find out that Tui Trang, aka Trini, aka the Yellow Ranger, died in a car accident. And it was a shame, really, because, you know, she was an awesome actress. I mean, she pretty much was the heart and soul of the show, and it's a shame that her life again was cut tragically short. I mean, if she was still alive today, I can guarantee you that she would have loved going to these conventions, Power Morphicon, Lexington Comic Con. I mean, she would have loved it. I mean, just because she had a very, very sweet heart. You know, unlike Amy Jo Johnson, who is, you know, of course, going to Lexington Comic Con and paying extra to see her. I don't think that Tui Trang would do that. She loved everybody. She loved the fans too much. So, and yeah, I mean, it was a shocker to me. And then, of course, I did get to see a lot of pretty much rewinding back to Mighty Morphin again, watching it thanks to in part to ABC Family. And I always wondered as a kid, it's like, why is the footage so older than the American footage? There were some battle scenes that were just grimy, and then I did my research, and it was all about Super Sentai. They had like a Super Sentai database. I mean, it was stretching from 1975. I was like, wow, that was awesome. The only part, though, was it was very difficult to find the original source material online at the time. Around Dino Thunder, though, when Dino Thunder aired, the only places that you can get Sentai were either some unknown sites, and there were some sites that actually let you download like a full movie of that show. I remember the first Sentai that I watched fully was Deca Ranger, thanks in part to TV Nihon. But prior to TV Nihon, there were some sites that you could download Sentai, but in RAM formats. The first Sentai that I actually saw, but it wasn't, you know, the first Sentai, I guess, episode or special, if you will. I would say the first special, no, actually the first Sentai movie that I saw that pretty much got me into the whole Tokusatsu craze was the Abra Ranger movie. And I was like, damn, this was awesome. It was a lot better than Power Rangers. But don't get me wrong, Power Rangers and Sentai will always have their flaws and their perfections. That's why I like both. So yeah, and then, you know, and I'm still a fan to this day. Even with its ups and downs, I am still a fan. I mean, I don't think this series I don't think there will never be a kids show that had this kind of hype as it did back in '94. Never. If they ever release a kids show, it will never have this kind of hype. So, anyway, guys, I want to hear from you. What was your experience during the Power Rangers phenomenon of 1994? Please post your comments as well. Don't forget to subscribe and, of course, leave a comment, please, with the cherry on top. So, this is Sentai 22, and thanks for watching.